honestly, I got in town at 10 o'clock last night, and I brought like 2 hours, and so
You never know.
I think that's my decision. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I know that.
Oh,
You passed those down.
yeah, she named herself a little ago.
Oh, I did. You guys ready? You ready, John? Mr. Teeter. Yes. Right here. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. We will call this the Tippecanoe County Board of Commissioners meeting to order on January 22nd. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is the approval of minutes from the January, this is February 4th, 22nd meeting.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes from the Tuesday, January 22nd meeting as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes. Accounts, payables, and vouchers.
Mr. President, I'd like to recommend the claims from January the 24th through February 4th, along with the account or the payroll for January 25th, 2019, be approved without exception.
Mr. President, I move for approval as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the vouchers and payroll as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes. We have a proclamation, which looks like we don't have two mayors, so it'll be the three of us. We'll go up front. Let's do it here.
Actually, Michael just walked in. Would you like to give a brief synopsis of the program? The program in which we're doing the proclamation on today.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm sorry.
If you could come to the microphone.
Okay, Michael. Good morning. The Teacher Appreciation Program is something that Community Commitment to Education is doing to support our teachers and staffs in all of our public and private schools in Tippecanoe County. And so we are working to get companies and other organizations to sponsor a school and do either Appreciation Day or thank you notes to teachers, or just as a way to show the educators in our community that we appreciate what they do and the important work that they provide for our community.
Thank you. Did you divide it?
Yeah.
I am. Okay, so Teacher and Staff Appreciation Month, February 2019. Whereas teachers and school staff keep American democracy alive by laying the foundation for good citizenship. Whereas teachers and school staff work to open students' minds to ideas, knowledge, and dreams. And whereas teachers and school staff fill many roles as listeners, explorers, role models, motivators, mentors, and whereas February proves to be a challenging month for teachers as they prepare students for testing, and whereas 44% of teachers leave the profession within 5 years, and
Whereas a recent survey of teachers found that nearly 2/3 of teachers feel their jobs are always or often stressful, and whereas research shows that people in high-performance jobs can cope with stress if they have support, whereas teacher and school staff should know their community supports them, and whereas teachers and school staff continue to influence us long after our school days are only memories.
Now therefore be it proclaimed that February 1st to February 28, 2019 should be recognized as Teacher and Staff Appreciation Month in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, to support and acknowledge the impact of teachers and school staff in our community. During this month, we urge all in our community, including businesses, organizations, and individuals, to come together to say thank you to our teachers and staff for all they do each day to provide the opportunity for a brighter future for our children and our community. Thank you. All right, next up, we have area plan. Entertaining some motions.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion, we hear ordinance 2019-03-CM, which is Z2753, Nancy L. Evans, GB to A.
Second.
Petitioner?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I will pull the mic back.
down.
Back towards you there.
My name is Nancy L. Evans. Do you need my address?
Yes, please.
Okay. The property address is 6934 Railroad Street, Lafayette 47905.
And then, again, this is just to make your current, or the home on the property conforming in nature, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. And then this was a unanimous vote at APC, correct, Sally?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Thank you.
Anybody in the audience would like to speak in favor or oppose to this ordinance? Seeing none, Bob?
Byers?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Murtaugh?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-03, CM passes 3-0.
Okay, entertain another motion.
Mr. President, I would move that we hear ordinance 2019-04-CM. It's zoning number 2751, Tippecanoe Development 2 LLC, A to R1B.
A second?
Second. Sorry.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Petitioner.
Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. Dan Teeter, attorney to Brian Teeter and Schreier, represent the petitioner. Darren Sorensen is the petitioner's representative as president, as well as Tim Balanceifer from T-Bird, and they respond to any comments or questions that you might have. As you're probably aware, we received a favorable staff report on this. We received a unanimous yes vote from the Area Planning Commission of 14-0 for the commitment, and we received a favorable vote of 10-4 for the rezoning petition as well. We've had numerous meetings with the neighbors on this matter, as well as the fire, school. Commissioner Brown was the moderator at those meetings, and you can add to that if you would like. I would say those meetings were very successful. We've incorporated some of their ideas in our plan as well. As you're also aware, we're surrounded by 3 schools in this area, and it's my opinion that that has added to the growth for this area as well. Petitioner owns Fieldstone, which is on the north side of County Road 600. It consists of 73 acres and 232 lots. Although it's zoned R1B, we had an agreement with the neighbors that we would treat it as an R1A subdivision, which is what we have done. To date, 31 houses have been sold, 77 lots have been developed, so we're selling about 20 houses a year on this property. Timberbrook also is owned by petitioner. It's to the east, obviously on the south side of County Road 600. It's a 125-lot R1 subdivision on 48 acres. It's not been developed at this time. It'll probably be quite some time before we get around to developing that. We all agree, I think, that Lafayette or Greater Lafayette has been a wonderful place to be and live, and we've brought in a lot of businesses, a lot of industry to this area. What we're lacking is the workers, and I think the reason for that is there's no affordable housing. So these workers, the young professionals, the single parent, all want to live near to the school, but price is a big concern to them. So if you look at what's in the area, the Fieldstone to the north, which we're treating as R1A, prices started at $220 and now have inched up above that. Timberbrook to To the east of us is an R1 subdivision. The prices there will start at $285 to $290. Fieldstone 2, which is what we're calling our subdivision at this time, the R1 will start at $265. The R1B will start just under $200,000. Staff has mentioned in their report that there's a lot of R1 out there. I don't disagree with that, but that's totally a different market. That's houses that are going to range anywhere from $265,000 to $400,000 or $500,000 plus. We really have nothing out there for something just slightly under $200,000. Additionally, tell you what you probably know is coming as well as Kim Kreidler is doing a development. Is going to be doing one east of 600. It's about 2 or 3 miles to the east. It is a R1B subdivision. It's for empty nesters. Again, a different market. Those prices are going to start at $250 and they go up to $300,000 to $400,000 based upon what she's done on some of her other projects as well. Our site includes 60 R1 lots on the north and the west perimeter and 477 R1B lots in the interior. We're also going to have a 20-acre drainage facility with trails, recreational area. That will be on the southeast corner of the site. At our last neighborhood meeting, we also discussed with them that we would put berms along County Road 600 and along County Road 150. Our site's going to be developed in 7 to 8 phases, approximately 75 lots in each phase. Anticipate lot sales of between 25 and 35 houses a year on that property. So in the best of circumstances, it's going to take over 10 years to develop this site. Phase 1 is going to start on the northeast corner. It will also include the drainage facility at the southeast corner. We've indicated that if we need to add another roadway because we haven't been through the subdivision process, we would use the roadway that you see on Timber Brook, and it comes down and adjoins this subdivision. There is about 30 R1 lots to the north of that roadway, and we would develop those as R1 lots at the same time. We also have agreed to peg an R1 lot on the west side along County Road 150 for a future road connection. That probably would not occur until County Road 150 has been paved as well. We've also discussed this project with Superintendent Tippecanoe School Corporation, Dr. Hanback. He stated to me, and I think to the group as well, that over the next 3 years, the high school will add between 15 and 17 new classrooms. His opinion that this will satisfy enrollment for the next 10-year plus period. The middle school will add 18 new classrooms plus about 50,000 square feet of space. That will be done over the next 2.5 years, and that will accommodate an additional 400 to 450 students. The grade school added classrooms in 2015. No additional classrooms will be added at this time. They are seeking to find another school location in this quadrant now. So that's in the middle as well. And then going through all this process, as I've told Tracy before, I believe the county is going to improve 600. That needs to be done at some point in the future. You're going to improve County Road 150. We're going to see signalization along 600 and 500. All this is going to go to the growth of the community. And I guess I want to add now versus maybe coming back later because I saw their printout a little bit. So I want to add a few more comments if you wouldn't mind to counter what they're going to say. I mean, I think it's unrealistic to think that you got schools in the area and we're not going to have growth. That's not, that's not happening. That's not going to happen. We have 8 or 9 homes surrounding us. That's all. TSC also said that we change boundaries, we use portable classrooms, we build schools, we add additions. This is not our first rodeo. This has been in the planning for years. That comes directly from Dr. Hanback. He also says our ratio is 23 to 26 student per teacher, and if this changes, we're going to add more teachers. So I don't think there's an issue with the schools. I think the area is going to be improved. I think we desperately need this type of housing for this area, for the workers that are coming in, for those professionals and the young people that are single, that need a place to live and go be close to the school, and something that they can afford. So with that, we would respectfully request your approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions and ask to make a comment or two after the other side is done. Thank you.
I do have just a couple of questions. As we met with the neighbors, we talked about the impact of growth on 600 North and the importance of straightening or softening, not straightening, but softening that curve that is west of County Farm Road on 600. That'll require right-of-way as was required in the initial Fieldstone 1 development. We have that right-of-way on that side of the road that was given to us. And I think I know the answer to this, but I want to be sure to get on the record that there would be an expectation again that we be given right-of-way to do the same thing again and improve that road.
That would be true.
Okay, and likewise, I understand that it's going to be 10 years before this is built out. And again, I'm understanding that what you said, Mr. Teeter, is that it's going to start at the northeast side of this square that we're looking at, closest to Timberstone and closest to County Road 600 North, this quadrant.
Correct. I think it will be perhaps just over in here.
And there is a Timberstone, there's an entrance to Timberstone that will serve that, and another entrance off of 600 North.
Required, which I'm assuming that might be required, and if we do, then these R1 lots would be developed at the same time, as R1.
And are you prepared to commit a lot or lots on this side for the future?
In the subdivision process, I don't think anybody wants that put in until that road is paved, but we'll show that in the subdivision process.
Okay.
And will the streets be constructed all at one time or as the project's phased?
Not all at one time, but that first phase the first phase would be developed at this point. I mean, I can't.
So it's likely maybe...
This area plan's going to have some input into this.
So whatever's in this area, those streets will be done?
Yeah, I'm suggesting that this would come, and then in here would come, we'd probably stop here.
Okay.
Probably stop there.
Thank you.
Okay? Those are all the other...
And I'm guessing that nobody in the audience is seeing this right now.
No.
It's not posted. So for anyone that's curious what we're talking about, Timber Brook, which is the subdivision immediately to the east of this proposed development, would serve as the entrance, the eastern entrance to the initial development, and the other is off of County Road 600 North.
I've got a couple extra pictures, and I'd be happy to get that to them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, anyone from the audience that would like to speak in favor of this rezone? Okay.
I just want to clarify one thing that Mr. Teeter said. There was 15 members of the Planning Commission present out of 17. There was a vote of 15-0 to approve the commitment that the petitioner submitted. The vote on the rezone then was 11 yes, 4 no.
So, Sally, let me ask a question about that.
Sure.
So, remind me so do we have two separate votes? Do we have a vote for the commitment as well and a vote for the rezone itself?
No, you will be voting on the rezone with commitment.
Because the commitment's already attached?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, once again, we'll open it back up. Anyone who would like to speak in favor of this rezone? We'll try to hold everything in a minimum or a maximum of 5 minutes. Okay, not seeing anyone. Anyone who would like to speak opposed to this rezone, please come up. And please make sure you state your name and is there a sign-up paper there?
Yes, yeah, please.
Okay.
Sign up to say, hi, my name is Chris Brown. I live at 5808 North 150 West. I don't have a lot to speak on this as far as we would delve into the Planning Commission. I'd like to see, I don't mind growth, I like to see West Lafayette growing. I wish there were standards that kind of made a development with some additional standards, such as landscaping, such as the roads that we've spoken about, to make this community look a little different. We have kind of a unique place in West Lafayette compared to other places in Indiana. Purdue is a big factor of that. I don't think some of the statements that they're pushing with the workforce, again, for the affordable housing, I think that plays more on the south side where the factories are, where SIA is, where CAT is, where some of these, that's not necessarily a true statement. But again, I just wanted to say that I'd like to see, the development's fine. I appreciate their wanting to do a landscape buffer. I think that will help tremendously to the neighbors. I'd like to see something that I've seen good experience with, whether it's in Indianapolis, whether it's, again, I have experience in Florida or the Carolinas, is that if you can make a mixed-use development, or whether it's more regulation in the government aspect of it, whether it's the planning side or whatnot, where you can disperse some of the density of this, so it's not such a large development itself. If you can do some of these homes in a section, and then you have some R1s in another section, and that kind of helps make it not such a large mass as far as some other neighborhoods that we've seen in the county with experiments, maybe Benjamin Crossing, for example. But that would be my only thing for the county, just to take a look at it and say, do we want to step back a minute, because you're approving a long-term development, once a month or two to take a step back and reconsider whether what you want your West Lafayette to look like. I don't think I have anything other than that. But again, the development, I don't mind residential going over there. The developer's been nice enough to work with us with the landscape buffer commitment. I know we couldn't get that into the commitment, the language. That would have been nice to do, but again, they've been a developer for a while, so they've kind of deemed themselves trustworthy in a way. But properties sell, they change hands, so that's not necessarily it's okay with them, but to me it's not that, it can change. If it's not in writing, things can change. I've seen it happen before many times. The other thing is, the site plan that I saw that, you guys know with residential rezoning, that site plan is, until it gets to the site plan portion, the rezoning, that's nothing set in stone. They've mentioned a park and sidewalks and whatnot. That's not, they're not making any commitment to that today. So maybe that could, again, be a discussion of, how can you make that happen? I don't think I have anything else other than just the main point being that it'd be nice to see a little more look at regulation and how you want this development to look for the overall community. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Hi there, my name is Noelle Charchet. I live at 5754 North 150 West, so I'm one of the surrounding neighbors. But I'm also here today as a PTO board member for Burnett Creek. I'm on PTO for Battleground Middle. As some of you heard me say before, my husband coaches pretty much every Harrison sports team available out there. We have 2 boys who are very active, and for this reason is why we actually moved to this part of town. So we can very much appreciate other folks wanting to move to be closer to Harrison and all. But with that comes some serious concerns that we have about the sheer numbers that we're talking about, and Chris referred to that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of touch on a few things. One of the items that we didn't get to talk about at APC was concerns about fire safety. We've talked to some folks that are former fire chiefs and firemen, and the problem that we have in this area is it's very, very windy. You see the wind farms, you can see them from our homes out there, which is great for wind farms, not good for homes. So what happened last week, where there was actually a fire over near Wyandotte, which is actually where I used to live in that area, where one house caught on fire and caught another house on fire on the 28th, due to the proximity of the homes being very close together and the sheer winds that were going on that night. It's a definite concern for this subdivision. So when we're talking about this very large number of homes being very close together, that's a concern. We've also heard from managers of factories located in Lafayette that the R1B homes that they have talked about needing are needed more so on the south side of the county, not so much on this side of town. That's not typically what we hear from the factories of SIA, Wabash National, Fairfield. They're saying that their employees are looking for homes on that south side of town. They wouldn't want to drive all the way from this side. So we would be looking for a possibility, and I realize that this hasn't been done before potentially, but maybe for a recommendation from the commissioners to see more of a mixed zoning, what Chris referred to. If you look at page 8, I believe, of the PowerPoint presentation I gave to you, and this was presented at APC, you'll see that Arbor Chase is a mixed zone, and I realize things were probably a little different when this was done, but it's basically R1Bs in the middle surrounded by R1s around the outside. And I realize that the developer has offered 60 homes on the exterior facing 150 and 600 to be R1 lots. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be R1 homes, but what we would ask for is just a larger number of R1s and less number of R1Bs. So right now, 476 R1Bs are what have been technically plotted. I realize that'll change. with 60 being R1s. We'd like to see a more even mix. One, it'll help those of us in the area in terms of property value, but the biggest concern that I have as a member of PTOs is the sheer number of homes. I as well sit on all these parent council meetings, PTO meetings. I as well meet with Dr. Hambeck very regularly. In fact, I've been at 3 meetings in the past 3 weeks with both the superintendent and assistant superintendent. And I would draw you to look at the letter that Burnett Creek PTO has submitted to you all and just have you think about some of the things that we have to deal with. We spend countless hours raising money for teachers and staff to have some of the things that they need that the county unfortunately cannot provide. We've heard significant concerns from school counselors that their inability to handle the number of students being referred to them that need additional time and resources. We've heard from our counterparts at Battleground Elementary and Klondike that they're also at capacity, so shifting now will not help. I was told directly by the school corporation that the feasibility plan or the timeline for the new elementary school has not happened. And I will tell you, I've heard about the Northwest Quadrant growth since I was over at Wyandotte and how we're looking for land and we're looking for a school to be built, but right now, they can't guarantee us any timeline whatsoever, verbatim. So they are adding on to Harrison and Battleground Middle. We're pleased to see that, but we've also been told for quite some time that was to handle the growth that's already occurred. I'm not sure if many of you are aware, but Harrison has a 10 a.m. lunch this year because there were kids sitting on the floor last year eating lunch. So there are a lot of issues as it pertains to just this exponential growth and the ability to handle that. A lot of the additions that are going on now were to address the current growth that's happening as well as what's already been approved. So continuing to add 500 homes at a time is just not something that I think they can keep up with. We've had teachers express concerns about low test scores and grades. There have been many studies done that have shown a decrease in these items, the test scores and grades, when class sizes increase. So yes, right now it looks good, but that doesn't mean it will continue to look good. Something else that you need to consider is that Battleground Middle is a school that takes, there's 2 schools in the county, one in the McCutcheon area, one in the Harrison area, that take all the special needs students. So a lot of people aren't aware of that. So we take students from Klondike and East Tip, as well as our own students, as well as Lafayette School Corporation students that have special needs, whether that's wheelchairs, they have Down syndrome, whatever their special needs are. And so we have to accommodate all those as well. So it is not your typical school. We actually accommodate a lot more students than the other middle schools do. That also impacts the buses. So as you know, these kids have to ride special needs buses. Well, currently what happens is they share the lane with the car riders. So Tracy's heard me say that one of my friends got hit by a Lafayette School Corporation bus after the APC meeting in December. There's just not enough room. We're spilling out onto 50. We're spilling out onto 600. Harrison, as you know, has to have a sheriff controlling traffic. Yes, I know that they're going to build a road to 600 and the additions are going on, but the sheer growth and the pace at which is happening, we just can't keep up with the infrastructure. So again, what we're asking for is a compromise. We have never once said we don't want the rezoning. We've never once said we don't want the building. Tracy's heard me say I would love for my kids to have a neighborhood to go ride their bikes in, but I need it to be safe. I need it to, the infrastructure, the roads, the drainage, the schools, the fire department, which by the way, our responding fire department is over by Klondike. It's not in our area. So if those homes catch on fire, it does take a period of time for fire department to respond and get to the area. I will also share with you, I know some of you heard it before, but page 4 is the report that I received from Deputy Sheriff regarding the report that was done in 2017 that shows what our statistics are in terms of our Sheriff's Department and how understaffed we are. They do an incredible job with what they have. But if we keep building at this pace, there's no way they're ever going to be able to address the amount of homes that we're talking about in this area. So we'd hope that you would consider that. Again, the picture's on page 8 regarding the fire that occurred. And then the Arbor Chase zoning is on page 8. I'm sorry, page 8 is the Arbor Chase zoning. So again, what we'd ask that you consider is just make a recommendation, if you can't vote for it today, but make a recommendation to the builder. And Darren has been great, Darren Sorensen's been great about talking to us. But we would like to see a compromise here. We'd like to see sheer number of homes reduced. It's just too much. The last thing I would draw your attention to is page 2 of the PowerPoint. There have now been, if you count APC's 12 to 4 vote, or 11 to 4 vote. So there were 4 no votes for rezoning at all. But there have now been over 1,800 homes technically approved if you guys vote today within 1.5 miles of Harrison. And I realize they won't go all up at once, but that's in addition to what's already happening. And that does not count all the growth outside of 1.5 miles That does not count all the growth near Wyandotte. That does not count all the growth near Klondike. So for all of us whose kids are going to Harrison, we just can't get our arms around the sheer number. And so we're asking you today, again, we're not necessarily saying no vote. We're not against this, but we would ask that you strongly recommend to the builder and developer that they reconsider what they're putting here, just as they did across the street when it was zoned R1B and they compromised and did R1A. Originally, the subdivision across the street next to this was supposed to be zoned R1B. They compromised and gave it R1. We're asking for a compromise. I know they've done it before. We're still going to allow, we'd still be open to having some R1Bs, but 477 is just too many, plus the 60 R1 lots. So I'm not sure how best to handle that here, but I wanted to make sure that you heard from myself. And again, I've had, since the APC meeting, I can't tell you how many teachers, principals, staff, student, parents, community members have reached out to me, and they're very concerned. So they wanted to make sure that they were heard today. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions for you. Well, one primarily, as I look and as we talked about the process and everything, the drawing that we have today with the layouts of the lots and everything, it's conceptual in nature, and it'll change as if it's approved today as it goes through the subdivision process. One of the glaring things that my partners at County Highway noted was that a grid system of streets doesn't necessarily serve safety issues very well, meaning that there are problems with speeds, things of controlling traffic. So I'm going to guess that potential change could reduce lots. When you talk about less in terms of number, and we don't have any control over what that ends up being as a board today, what kind of numbers are you looking for?
I mean, ideally, we'd like to see less than 300 R1B homes. Right now, we're at 476, 477. The number keeps kind of changing, but that's still, if we were at 300 R1Bs, that's still 300 R1B homes. And I will contest what was said that there's no affordable housing in the area. There are older subdivisions. If you look at Kimberly Estates that's off Morehouse Road, there's actually apartment complex going in off Morehouse Road, and there's other subdivisions as well as additional rezoning off 500 that's R1B. So I just want to be clear that with being said that there's no other R1B available, that's not the case. But I do agree with the roads and the streets. It is a concern. I wouldn't let my child ride a bike through there now if I thought, because you can speed when there's straight roads like that. I will say my replacement, my PTO vice president for Burnett Creek, lives in a neighborhood where there are straight streets, and so they put in speed bumps, and you and I talked about that. And so the plows can't plow over those. They have to lift up the rig and get over, so you can't plow correctly, and it actually damages a lot of the cars in the area. It's actually right at her driveway too, so it causes a lot of problems for her. So it would be ideal to kind of have more natural roadways that, one, force people to slow down. It looks more aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't look so grid system looking like you see with some of the, like Benjamin Crossing on the south side. So I think there's some compromises, hopefully, that will be made there.
Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please make sure you sign in. Anyone else would like to speak opposed to this ordinance? Okay, petitioner, we good?
Like I said, I hit most of those points, I think, earlier, but I would say that the R1B at Arbor Chase is fully developed. Darren developed that. The Arbor Chase houses sold for $265,000 to $400,000. So again, it's a different market. So we've got a catch-22 in that if we change from R1B to R1, then the cost of the lot and the cost of the houses goes up. So then we don't have that affordable housing element that we need. I realize that many people may want to live on the south side close to the factories, but I think there's a lot of those people too that like this school system and want to live up here in this area, and they need affordable housing to do that. They talk about the fire, okay? The difference between an R1 and an R1B side yard is this much, okay? That much. So whether it's R1 or R1B, it's not going to make any difference as to a fire. 1 foot will not make any difference. So I don't think that is realistic. And again, we keep hounding on the school system when the expert has come to our meetings and has said, we've done this before, we do our planning, we know what we're doing, we've got a good problem, we can always, solve those problems as we go along, and we're going to continue to solve those problems as well. One other thing that's in there, they talk about the drainage, and on those lots that are on the west side of County Road 150, were all done by parcelization, and as a result, there was no drainage plan done, so that's a lot of their problem, in that there was never a drainage plan. I think Zach, he's here, and he could speak as well, but he's told me that he's improved, or they went out, looked at the ditch and tried to do some cleanup on that. There's also perhaps a drain pipe that goes from where we're looking at across the road, and if we go into the subdivision process, obviously that will come out, because everything is draining pretty much north to south, southeast to that drainage facility. And I would agree that, what you had before you is a concept plan. It has to go through drainage board, it has to go through the subdivision process. There's going to be a lot of tweaking that area plan or anybody else may cause us to do. Grid system they may not like, they may change some of that, and that would affect the number of lots as well. So with that, again, we would respectfully request your approval. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
I do have one last question for you. Albeit maybe not in an official capacity, is there room or allowances for ongoing dialogue between some of the folks who've been very involved in this process in the recent weeks to continue to be engaged in the process?
And that's why we did the commitment by having the R1 on the exterior. And again, like I said, can we do another one? Another 50, 60 R1 lots? Yeah. The price of this lots and homes in this will be in the 250 range. So, we're not solving the problem by doing that, unfortunately. That's just like across the street, they touted that starting at 220. Well, already, and you guys know probably better than anybody else, the cost of material and everything else, that's eking up all the time. So it's getting pretty scary out there for the cost of building things. So in order to get that achieved, you need more lots.
Chris had mentioned earlier berming concerns, and again, I know it didn't end up in a formal commitment. It was part of a discussion between Chris and the developer.
The reason we didn't do that is because we don't know what area plan's going to demand and what the county's going to want or take, so none of that's been solved. I'm standing here saying that we will do a berm on both 600 and both 150. How big it is, or wide or whatever, I can't say at this point. But Darren's come before you for 10 or 15, 20 years. They've got a lot more to do. What they say is their word. They're going to continue doing that in the future. That's not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more questions from the board? Hearing not. Bob?
Brown?
Yes.
Murtaugh?
Yes.
Byers?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-04, CM passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Okay, next ordinance.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion, we hear ordinance 2019-05-CM, Unified Subdivision Ordinance Amendment number 11.
Second.
Okay, Sally?
Unlike most amendments you hear, which are amendments to the zoning ordinance, this is an amendment to the subdivision ordinance. This amendment came about from a number of citizens who came to staff with some concerns and some things that they would appreciate having changed. So those concerns were vetted through the ordinance committee, and we have come up with essentially 3 changes. The first one is that when a parent tract, which is a defined term, when a parent tract was purchased and then divided by somebody, they could create 4 parcelization lots, and then after that, everything had to be 10 acres or larger. So the original divider used up all the development rights. Now people who own these 10-acre tracts believe they would also like to divide their 10-acre tract, which was not the original intent, but we have now moved more than 20 years away from, in many cases, that original division. So this amendment would allow a 10-acre tract that was created as an exemption to the subdivision ordinance, if it was created at least before June 1st of 2018, to be further parcelized into no more than 2 lots. So those persons who a number of years ago bought an exempt 10-acre tract would now have the ability to further divide that into 2 parcels. Another issue came up for persons who had also used up all their development rights, and now they still had a farmstead home, that they didn't want to sell with the farm. They wanted to sell it with a smaller amount of acreage. So even though they have already used up all their development rights, this amendment would let them create 1 tract for the farmstead as long as the original farmstead had been built prior to 1979. So it's not an issue where somebody could suddenly build a house on a farmstead and claim it's a farmstead and then carve off a piece of a smaller tract. So there are some limitations to ensure that it's really a farmstead that's being sold off from the tillable farm. And then the last one is an issue for some people where they qualify to do parcelization except they're at the intersection, say, of 2 public roads. Right now, forever, the ordinance has said if you have road frontage on a lot being created by parcelization, you have to have a minimum of 200 feet of frontage. So we have, and that would mean in this case, both sides would have to be 200 feet. So this amendment would allow a corner lot to be parcelized if it otherwise qualified, even if only one side met the 200 feet minimum frontage. So those are the 3 issues that were raised by citizens and the solution that staff and the ordinance committee and then the plan commission came up with. And vote at the plan commission meeting was 13 yes, 2 no.
Good, thank you. Any questions? Anyone in the audience like to speak in favor or opposed to this ordinance, these ordinances change? Bob?
Murtaugh? Yes. Myers?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ordinance 2019-05, CM passes 3-0.
Thank you. Highway, Stewart.
Good morning. A few items.
That one or not?
I've got some over here too that I think it's so.
The first item we have at last meeting, accept the bids on County Road 450 South. That's our community crossing grants project. We've reviewed the bids and are recommending the acceptance of the Reith Riley construction bid, which with alternates totals $2,052,839.15.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion, we award the bid to Reith Riley as mentioned.
Second.
Motion and second to accept this bid. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Utility agreement.
Yep. Second item, same project, a utility agreement with, Dataline Communications, relocate their lines.
Mr. President, I would move that we approve the utility agreement with Dateline Utilities.
Second.
We have a motion and second to accept this utility agreement. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes.
Next item is a permit for a Norwegian foot march from Purdue ROTC. It's an 18-mile march. It's on March 23rd. This is an annual event you've approved before. The Sheriff's Department has reviewed the plan and approved it.
Who gets to participate in that?
Do we have some participants?
And the highway department.
It is open to the public though. It's 18.6 miles with a 35-pound rock.
If I could find somebody to do the second leg, the 17.6 miles, I'd probably be okay. I would move for approval as submitted.
Second.
Motion and second to approve this special event permit. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes.
The next three items pertain to Bridge Project 177 replacement. It's a $282,812.30 project that was approved and awarded, again, to Ruth Riley Construction. The first document is a payment bond for the project.
Mr. President, I would move for approval as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes.
The next item is a, get myself right, performance bond on the same project.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion, we approve the performance bond and the one-year maintenance bond for this project.
Second.
Nobody said it.
Now, wait a minute. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the performance bond and the maintenance bond. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you. Sharon.
Morning. I'd like to ask permission to apply for the Surveyor's Office, $15,000 from the SIA the Subaru Indiana Automotive Foundation for supplies and equipment of the 2019 Wonders on the Wabash program.
And this is be what, the second year?
I'm sorry?
This will be the second year to apply for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Or maybe even longer.
I'm sorry?
Maybe even it's been more than that.
This is the only second time I'm aware of.
I see our surveyor
Is it only two?
too.
Okay. Mr. President, I'll make a motion, we grant permission to apply.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to grant permission to apply for the surveyor. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes.
Colleen, did you want to say anything about this one? And we'd like to ask permission to accept the CASA for Kids Foundation to award CASA with $50,288 to cover the cost of one of their part-time positions with benefits.
Mr. President, I'd move for approval as submitted.
I'll second that, but I do have one question. Is that likely reoccurring?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
This is a committee response.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the grant as stated. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like we have two potential contracts with Financial Solutions Group.
No, I think just one.
Well, there's one for continuing disclosure filings.
Is that correct, Bob?
And then we have another one for proposal for, I think it's the one you said to do, right?
That's the one that, yeah, we have some question about.
Yeah, so that one I think we're going to hold off on.
Hold on. Okay.
So, Mr. President, I would move that we approve the 2019 continuing disclosure filings agreement with Financial Solutions Group, Inc.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the contract as stated. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes. We have applications to the villa.
I would move that we approve applications from Carol Esther, is it Haskell? Yes, Haskell, and Donald Gerald Camelato.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept these two applicants. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes. Under new business, Tom, you had something to bring up?
I do. We need to create a new position that will be under the Commissioner's office. This is a resource specialist, solid waste specialist. This was the position that was formerly funded by the Solid Waste District and Phase 2 partnership on water quality. It's shifting to be phased, or to be paid for by still the Solid Waste District, but the other partner will be Wabash River Enhancement Corp. But it will be a county employee. So with that, I'll make a motion that we create the position of resource specialist, solid waste specialist.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to create this new position as stated. Is there any more discussion? Clear?
Yep.
Okay.
Because it should be fully reimbursed.
It's fully reimbursed by those two entities, yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes. Any other unfinished or new business being brought before? Not, we have a report from the Tippecanoe County Building Commission and Tippecanoe County Central Mail and Duplicating. These reports will be over in the Commissioner's office for public viewing. Any public comment?
Motion to adjourn?
Meeting adjourned.
So we're going to transfer money from professional services and need it. And once we get money back, if we need that money back, we need to reimburse. You want to start on this side? Because we want to start on like next week. And if you